Elena Morales adjusted the camera bag strap as she stepped into the grand atrium of the city's premier art gallery. The air was thick with fresh flowers and expensive perfumes, a far cry from the modest apartment she shared with her aging grandmother in the bustling Latin Quarter. At 28, Elena had carved out a niche as a freelance photographer, capturing the raw beauty of everyday life in her community. Vibrant street festivals, colorful murals, and the resilient faces of immigrants like her family. Her work wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and connected her to her roots. Raised by her abuela after her parents' tragic accident, Elena had learned early that strength came from within, not from wealth or status. Tonight's exhibition featured emerging artists from diverse backgrounds, and Elena was here on assignment for a local magazine. She moved through the crowd with quiet confidence, her dark curls cascading over her shoulders, her amber skin glowing under the soft lighting. She framed a shot of an abstract sculpture that reminded her of the twisting vines in her grandmother's tiny garden, symbols of endurance in harsh soil. That's when she noticed him. Marcus Langford stood across the room, tall and impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that screamed old money. At 32, he was the heir to the Langford Empire, a sprawling conglomerate of real estate developments that shaped the city's skyline. Theodore Langford's father was a legendary tycoon known for his ruthless business tactics and ironclad control over his family. Marcus had grown up in the shadow of that legacy, attending elite schools and learning to navigate boardrooms before he could drive. But beneath the polished exterior, he carried the weight of expectations, constantly proving himself worthy of the family name. Marcus's eyes locked on Elena as she knelt to capture a low-angle shot. Something captivating about her focus was how she saw beauty in the ordinary. He had wandered into the gallery to escape a tedious investor meeting, not expecting to find inspiration in a stranger. Gathering his nerve, he approached her. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth but tentative. "I couldn't help but notice how you're photographing that piece. What draws you to it?" Elena looked up, her brown eyes meeting his piercing blue ones. She straightened, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It's the resilience in the form," she replied. "Like how roots push through concrete in my neighborhood. Beauty born from struggle." Marcus smiled, intrigued. "Sounds like a story worth hearing." "I'm Marcus, by the way. Elena Morales," she said, shaking his hand firmly. Her touch was warm, grounded, unlike the fleeting grips he encountered in his world. They fell into conversation effortlessly. Elena shared tales of her Latin heritage, how her abuela had fled political unrest in Colombia to build a new life in America, teaching her granddaughter to weave stories through images. Marcus opened up about his own pressures, the endless demands from his father to expand the empire, leaving little room for personal passions. "I envy your freedom," he admitted. "Board meetings and profit margins script my life." Elena laughed softly. "Freedom? Try scraping by on freelance gigs. But it's mine, and that's what counts." As the evening wore on, the gallery lights dimmed, signaling the end of the event. Marcus felt a reluctance to let the moment slip away. "Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" he asked, surprising himself with the boldness. "I promise no business talk, just more about those roots pushing through concrete." Elena hesitated, glancing at his expensive watch and the subtle security detail lingering nearby. Their worlds couldn't be more different, she thought. He was from the penthouses, she from the streets. But there was a genuine spark in his eyes, a vulnerability that pierced her defenses. "Sure," she said with a smile, "why not?" The next day, Elena recounted the encounter to her abuela over breakfast in their cozy kitchen, filled with fresh arepas. "He seems nice, but Niña, be careful," her grandmother warned, her wrinkled hands stirring coffee. "Wealthy men often see us as novelties, not equals." "I know, abuela, I'm not naive," Elena replied, though a flutter of excitement betrayed her words. Marcus, meanwhile, faced his father's scrutiny in the opulent Langford mansion. Theodore, a stern man in his 60s with silver hair and a perpetual frown, eyed his son over the morning paper. "Who was that woman at the gallery? Word travels fast in our circles." "Just someone interesting, father. Not everything is about networking," Marcus said, deflecting. Theodore snorted. "In our world, it is. Don't let distractions derail you. We have the waterfront project to close. Marcus nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. He texted Elena that afternoon, suggesting a casual cafe in neutral territory. She agreed, and their first date unfolded in a quaint spot overlooking the river. They talked for hours. Elena spoke about her photography dreams, inspired by Latin folklore and urban grit. Marcus talked about his secret love for architecture beyond profit, sketching ideas on napkins. As dates turned into weeks, their bond deepened. Elena introduced Marcus to her vibrant community, where he tasted authentic empanadas at a street fair and danced to salsa rhythms under string lights. He, in turn, showed her glimpses of his life. A private yacht cruise at sunset, where he confessed his fears of never measuring up to his father. Elena told him, "You're more than your last name," her hand in his. "That's what I see." But cracks appeared early. Theodore disapproved, viewing Elena as a liability. During a family dinner, he grilled her about her background. Freelance photography? How quaint. And your family? Immigrants? Elena held her ground. "Proudly so, Mr. Langford. We've built everything from nothing." Marcus defended her, but the tension lingered. One night, after a heated argument with his father, Marcus arrived at Elena's door with flowers. "I don't care what he thinks. You're the real thing in my scripted life." Their courtship culminated in a proposal on a hilltop overlooking the city, where Marcus knelt with a ring that sparkled like stars. "Elena, you ground me. Marry me, and let's build our own world." Tears in her eyes, Elena said yes, though a whisper of doubt echoed her abuela's warnings. Their wedding was intimate, blending Latin traditions with Langford elegance. Mariachi music, a Catholic ceremony, and toasts in Spanish and English. Theodore attended reluctantly, but was charmed by Elena's grace during a dance. "Take care of him," he murmured. "He's softer than he lets on." In those early months, marriage felt like a dream. They traveled to Colombia, where Elena showed Marcus her roots, and he vowed to support her art. But unbeknownst to her, Marcus signed estate papers drafted by Theodore's lawyers, intertwining their finances in ways that would later prove fateful. For now, love closed their eyes to the gathering storm. One night, a shadow loomed as Elena lay in Marcus's arms, whispering about future dreams. Victoria Kane, a sharp-witted executive in Theodore's firm and daughter of a key partner, had set her sights on Marcus. Her ambitions extended beyond business, seeing him as a path to power. A late-night email from her pinged on his phone. "We must discuss the waterfront deal." Privately, Marcus deleted it, unaware that this was the spark that would ignite the inferno. Elena, sensing nothing, dreamed of a life where love conquered all divides. But fate, as her abuela often said, had other plans. The cafe overlooking the river became their sanctuary in the following weeks. Elena arrived first on their second date, her camera slung over her shoulder as always, capturing the play of light on the water before Marcus appeared. He looked slightly out of place in his crisp shirt among the casual patrons, but his smile lit up when he saw her. They ordered simple coffees, and conversation flowed like the current below them. Elena spoke animatedly about a recent shoot in the Latin Quarter, where she photographed a mural depicting the struggles of immigrants. "It reminds me of my abuela's stories," she said. She crossed oceans with nothing but hope and a few recipes tucked in her heart. Marcus listened intently, his usual guarded demeanor softening. He shared snippets of his world, the high-stakes negotiations that kept the Langford empire expanding. "But it's exhausting," he confessed. "Everyone expects me to be like my father, ruthless and unyielding. I want more than that." Elena reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. "Then chase it. Life's too short to live someone else's script." That evening marked the beginning of their whirlwind romance. Dates blurred into stolen moments, walks through hidden parks where Elena taught Marcus to see the artistry in graffiti, and quiet dinners in her neighborhood taquerias where flavors exploded like fireworks. Marcus introduced her to finer things, but Elena drew lines early. When he gifted her a designer necklace after their third date, she handed it back gently. "It's beautiful, but I can't accept this. My value isn't in what you buy me. It's in what I build myself." Marcus was taken aback. used to women who reveled in his generosity. "You're different," he said, admiration in his voice. "Most people see the Langford name and expect the perks." "That's precisely why," Elena replied. "My family taught me self-reliance. Abuela raised me on tales of survival, not silver spoons." The rejection stung at first, but it deepened his respect. He began appreciating her independence, the way she funded her art through grit alone. Yet, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Theodore Langford wasted no time voicing his concerns. One evening, after Marcus mentioned Elena over dinner in the sprawling family estate, his father set down his fork with a clink. "This photographer girl, from the barrios? Son, you're playing with fire. Our world demands alliances, not distractions." "She's not a distraction, father. She's real," Marcus argued, his jaw tightening. "Unlike the socialites you parade at galas." Theodore's eyes narrowed. "Reality check. You're heir to billions. She brings what? Pretty pictures? Think about the waterfront project. We need stability, not some romantic fling." Marcus stormed out, but the words lingered like smoke. He confided in Elena during a late-night call. "My father's impossible. He sees everything through a balance sheet." Elena sighed, curled up in her bed with her abuela's quilt. "Family pressure is universal, but don't let it poison us. We're building something here." To escape the scrutiny, they planned a weekend getaway to a coastal town, far from the city's glare. The drive was filled with laughter and shared playlists, blending Marcus's classical tastes with Elena's vibrant salsa beats. At a seaside cliff, they watched the sunset, waves crashing below. Marcus pulled her close. "With you, I feel free from all that weight." Elena leaned into him, but shared her own vulnerabilities. "Growing up poor wasn't easy. Abuela worked 3 jobs after we immigrated. I promised myself I'd never depend on anyone. That's why your gifts scare me sometimes." He nodded, understanding dawning. "Then let's depend on each other equally." Their intimacy grew, both emotional and physical, in those stolen days. Back in the city, however, the divide widened. At a Langford-hosted gala, Elena felt like an outsider among the elite. Dressed in a simple gown borrowed from a friend, she navigated conversations about stocks and vacations she could only dream of. Theodore cornered her by the bar. "Miss Morales, charming as you are, Marcus has responsibilities. Don't pull him down." Elena met his gaze steadily. "I'm not pulling anyone. I'm lifting myself and him with me if he chooses." Theodore smirked. "Noble, but nobility doesn't pay bills." Marcus overheard and intervened, pulling Elena away. "Ignore him. He's stuck in his ways." But the encounter rattled her. That night, they argued for the first time in Marcus's penthouse. "Why didn't you stand up more?" Elena asked, pacing. "He treats me like I'm beneath you. He's my father, Elena. I can't just cut him off. The empire depends on it. And what about us? Does our future depend on his approval?" Marcus pulled her into an embrace. We'll make our own path." The makeup was passionate, reaffirming their bond. Weeks turned to months, and Marcus began boldly integrating Elena into his life. He attended her photo exhibits, praising her work publicly. In return, she supported him through stressful deals, offering fresh perspectives that surprised his team. After closing a significant contract, he took her to a rooftop restaurant one night. "You were my lucky charm today. Your advice on community impact swayed the board." Elena smiled. "See? Our worlds can blend." Yet whispers persisted. Victoria Kane, the ambitious executive in Theodore's firm, began appearing more frequently in Marcus's orbit. As the daughter of a key partner, she was polished and strategic, always ready with insights on deals. During a business lunch, she leaned in close. "Marcus, your father's right about the waterfront. We could make it legendary together." He brushed it off, focused on Elena, but seeds of doubt were planted. The turning point came during a spontaneous trip to the mountains. Amid snow-capped peaks, Marcus arranged a private cabin escape. They hiked trails, shared stories by the fire. Elena opened up fully about her childhood poverty, nights without power, Abuela's sacrifices. "It shaped me, made me fierce. But it also made me fear losing control." Marcus held her. "You've got me now. We'll face everything together." On the final night, under a blanket of stars, he dropped to one knee. "Elena, You've shown me love beyond ledgers. Marry me. Let's build a life that's ours, not dictated by anyone." Her heart raced. The ring was modest by his standards, chosen to suit her tastes. Tears welled as memories of her abuela's wisdom flashed. "Love, but never lose yourself." "Yes," she whispered, slipping on the ring. "But promise we'll stay equals." He vowed it, sealing the promise with a kiss. As they returned to the city, joy bubbled, but fragility loomed. Theodore's reaction was swift and cold. Engaged? To her? This could jeopardize everything. Think of the prenup. Marcus stood firm. "The prenup will protect us both. Elena's signing it fairly." Unbeknownst to Elena, the document was labyrinthine, woven with clauses that intertwined their assets, designed by Theodore to safeguard the empire. She signed after a quick review, trusting Marcus. Their engagement party blended cultures, Latin feasts alongside champagne toasts. Friends from Elena's world mingled awkwardly with Langford associates. Victoria attended, her smile sharp. "Congratulations," she said to Elena. "You're quite the inspiration." Elena sensed the undertone, but dismissed it. As the night ended, Marcus whispered, "We're unstoppable." Yet in the shadows, Theodore pulled Victoria aside. "Keep an eye on him. We can't let this derail the plans." The flames of their passion burned bright, but storms gathered on the horizon, threatening to test the foundations they were building. While Marcus wrestled with loyalties pulling him apart, Elena dreamed of a harmonious future. Little did they know, the actual test was beginning. The wedding day dawned bright and alive with anticipation, a perfect blend of cultures under the spring sun. Elena stood before the mirror in her abuela's modest home, adjusting the lace veil passed down through generations. The gown was elegant yet simple, embroidered with subtle Latin motifs of vines and flowers, symbolizing growth and resilience. Her abuela fussed over her, pinning a final sprig of jasmine into her hair. "You look like a queen, Nina," she whispered, eyes misty. "Remember, marriage is a partnership, not a surrender." Across town, in the Langford estate, Marcus paced in his tuxedo, nerves jangling despite his usual composure. Theodore watched from the doorway, arms crossed. "This is it, son. The prenup's ironclad. Protects the family assets." Marcus nodded absently. "It's about love, father, not assets." Theodore chuckled dryly. "Love fades. Contracts endure." The ceremony unfolded in a historic chapel where mariachi strings mingled with classical violins. Vows were exchanged in English and Spanish, promising eternal support and equality. Elena's voice was steady as she pledged to stand by Marcus through storms and sunrises. He in turn vowed to honor her independence and dreams. Rings slid onto fingers, sealing the union amid cheers from a diverse crowd. Elena's community friends rubbing shoulders with Langford's elite associates. The reception at a waterfront venue burst with color and flavor. Tables groaned under Colombian arepas, Spanish paella, and American classics. Dances swirled from salsa to waltzes, with Elena leading Marcus in rhythmic steps that left him laughing and breathless. Theodore pulled her aside during a quiet moment. "Welcome to the family," he said gruffly. "Marcus needs someone grounded. Don't let him down." "I won't," Elena replied firmly. "But I expect the same respect." He raised an eyebrow, then nodded. "Fair enough." Honeymoon in the Caribbean followed, a week of sun-soaked bliss on pristine beaches. They explored coral reefs, shared lazy afternoons in hammocks, and dreamed aloud about their future. Marcus sketched ideas for a home that fused modern architecture with Latin warmth, while Elena photographed hidden coves, capturing the essence of their new beginning. Intimacy deepened, bodies and souls intertwining without reservation. Back in the city, they settled into Marcus's penthouse, which Elena infused with personal touches, vibrant textiles from her heritage, her photographs adorning walls once bare and sterile. Mornings began with shared coffee on the balcony. Overlooking the skyline Marcus helped shape. Evenings were for cooking together, Elena teaching him abuela's recipes while he recounted boardroom triumphs. But beneath the idyll, complexities emerged. The prenuptial agreement, which Elena had signed trusting Marcus's assurances, was a labyrinth of clauses. Drafted by Theodore's lawyers, It intertwined their finances in unexpected ways. Elena's name appeared as co-signatory on several trusts and accounts, ostensibly for tax benefits and asset protection. Marcus explained it casually one afternoon over lunch. "It's standard for our family. Protects us from liabilities. You're part of everything now." Elena scanned the document again, her brow furrowing. "It feels like I'm signing away my autonomy." He squeezed her hand. "It's the opposite. It gives you security. If anything happens, you're protected." She nodded, pushing doubts aside. Trust was the foundation, after all. Socially, Elena navigated the upper echelons with natural grace. At a charity gala, she dazzled in a gown inspired by Latin folklore, its flowing lines turning heads. Conversations flowed as she discussed her photography, weaving in stories of cultural resilience that captivated donors. Marcus watched proudly from afar, introducing her as "my brilliant wife, the artist behind the lens." One attendee, Victoria Kane, approached with a polished smile. "Elena, right? I've heard so much. Your work sounds fascinating." "Thank you," Elena replied warmly. "And you are?" "Victoria, from Langford Enterprises. I handle partnerships. Let's collaborate sometime." Marcus joined them, his expression neutral. Victoria's invaluable on the waterfront project. The exchange was brief, but Elena noted Victoria's gaze on Marcus. Later, in the car, she teased him. "Old friend?" "Business associate," he said quickly, nothing more. As months passed, their routine solidified into happiness. Thursdays became sacred. No work, just them cooking abuela's empanadas or wandering art districts. Marcus surprised Elena with a dedicated studio in the penthouse, equipped for her photography. In return, she supported his ambitions, offering insights that refined his proposals. Yet, subtle shifts crept in. Marcus's phone buzzed more frequently with late-night calls from the office. Theodore's demands intensified as the waterfront development neared closure, a massive project involving billions and political ties. One evening, Marcus arrived home exhausted, collapsing into a chair. "Rough day?" Elena asked, massaging his shoulders. "Father's pushing hard. Victoria is handling negotiations, but it's tense." Victoria again, Elena thought, but said nothing. Instead, she drew him a bath, reading aloud from a book of Latin poetry while he soaked. These moments rekindled their spark, but frequency waned. At a corporate dinner, Victoria sat beside Marcus, her hand brushing his arm during laughs. Elena, across the table, felt a twinge of unease. Later, in bed, she voiced it. "She seems close to you. Professional only," he assured her, pulling her close. "You're my world." But doubt seated. Elena confided in her abuela during a visit. "He's changing, abuela. Busier, distant sometimes." "Marriage has seasons," her abuela said wisely. "But watch the signs. Your mother ignored them once." Elena nodded, resolving to communicate. She planned a surprise picnic in the park that night, recreating their early dates. Marcus arrived late, distracted. "Sorry, work call." "From Victoria?" The words slipped out sharper than intended. He sighed. "Yes, the deal's critical." They ate in strained silence, the picnic blanket feeling like a divide. As the weeks turned, Marcus's absences grew. He canceled a weekend trip, citing emergencies. Elena tried to reignite passion, wearing a dress he loved, but he claimed fatigue. One afternoon, while organizing his study, she found a receipt for an intimate dinner, dated a night he claimed overtime. Her heart sank. Confronting him that evening, she held it up. "Explain this." "Client meeting," he said dismissively. "Why the interrogation?" "Because we're drifting, Marcus. Talk to me." He rubbed his temples. "You're overreacting. Work's intense." The argument escalated, voices rising for the first time since marriage. Elena stormed out, walking the streets to clear her head. Returning, she found him asleep, phone beside him with a missed call from Victoria. Doubts festered. At a family lunch with Theodore, she probed subtly. "Is the company under pressure?" Marcus seems stressed. Theodore eyed her. "Business as usual. Why?" "He's different, distant. Perhaps he's realizing responsibilities, Theodore said cryptically. Not everyone adapts. Elena left unsettled. That night, Marcus's phone lit with a text from Victoria. Need you tonight. Urgent. He deleted it swiftly, but Elena glimpsed it over his shoulder. Her world tilted. Was this the hidden secret threatening their ideal union? As she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the first real crack in their foundation widened, promising storms ahead. Marcus slept soundly, oblivious to the gathering thunder. Elena stood in the kitchen of their penthouse, chopping vegetables for arroz con pollo, a dish her abuela taught her to make with love and patience. The scent of saffron and cumin filled the air, a comforting anchor to her heritage. She had planned this Thursday dinner to reclaim their sacred ritual, hoping to bridge the growing distance between her and Marcus. Lately, his late nights and vague excuses had become a pattern, eroding the intimacy they once shared. Tonight, she thought, they could reconnect over shared plates and memories. Marcus arrived home later than promised, his tie loosened and eyes distracted. "Smells good," he said, barely glancing at her as he dropped his briefcase. "Got a call to make first. Please give me a bit." Elena forced a smile, swallowing the sting of his dismissal. "Sure, take your time." The bit stretched into an hour. She sat at the dining table, the food cooling, her heart sinking with each tick of the clock. When Marcus finally emerged, he ate mechanically, scrolling through his phone. Elena tried to spark a conversation. "Your father mentioned the waterfront deal. How's it going?" "It's fine," he muttered. "Complicated." She pressed gently. "You seem stressed. Want to talk about it?" He sighed, setting down his phone with exaggerated patience. "Elena, I'm just tired. Can we not do this tonight?" The sharpness in his tone cut deeper than she expected. This wasn't the Marcus who once rearranged meetings to spend an hour with her. They finished dinner in near silence, her attempts at connection falling flat. That night, as he turned away in bed, his back a wall between them, Elena stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of their recent drift. Was it work or something else? The next morning, Marcus left early, claiming a breakfast meeting. Alone in the expansive penthouse, Elena felt its luxury mocking her isolation. She busied herself with photography, editing images from a recent community shoot. But her mind wandered to the receipt she'd found weeks ago, tucked in his jacket. An intimate dinner for two at a candlelit restaurant, dated a night he swore he was at the office. She hadn't confronted him again, fearing another deflection, but the doubt gnawed. At a local market that afternoon, Elena confided in her friend, Sophia, a fellow artist from the Latin Quarter. "He's different, Sophia, distant. I found this receipt, and he brushed it off as work." Sophia frowned, tossing her braid over her shoulder. "You know what Abuela would say, trust your gut. Men like Marcus live in two worlds. Watch for signs, amiga." Elena nodded, but the advice unsettled her. She decided to observe more closely. Over the next week, Marcus's behavior grew erratic. He missed their Thursday dinner, texting about an emergency client meeting. His phone buzzed constantly, and he angled it away when she was near. One evening, she glimpsed a message before he locked the screen. "Meet me at 9V. Her stomach twisted. V for Victoria? The executive who seemed too close at the gala. Elena pushed the thought aside, not ready to face it. Instead, she planned a surprise lunch at his office, packing homemade tamales in a basket, hoping to recapture their early days. When she arrived, his assistant, a young woman named Claire, greeted her with pity in her eyes. "He's in a meeting with Mrs. Langford. All day, actually." Elena forced a smile, handing over the basket. "Just leave this for him, please." Claire hesitated. "I'll make sure he gets it." Driving home, Elena felt foolish, like she was chasing a ghost of their former selves. That night, Marcus returned after midnight, claiming a deal ran late. The tamales sat untouched in the fridge. She didn't ask about them, but their silence grew heavier, a tangible weight. Desperate to reconnect, Elena booked a weekend at a bed and breakfast upstate, a place they loved during their courtship. She presented the reservation over breakfast, her voice hopeful. "We could get away, just us. No phones, no work." Marcus barely glanced at the paper, his jaw tightening. "I can't right now, Elena." The waterfront project is at a critical stage. Cancel it. Her heart sank. We haven't spent real time together in weeks. This could help us. He snapped, his tone icy. You thought wrong. I have responsibilities, Elena. The world doesn't stop because you want a vacation. The cruelty stunned her into silence. This wasn't her Marcus, the man who sketched homes with her under starlit skies. She canceled the reservation, swallowing the hurt like bitter medicine. Days later, she tried again, wearing a dress he once said made her glow like moonlight. But when she reached for him in bed, he mumbled about a headache and turned away. Elena sought advice from her abuela, visiting her in the familiar warmth of the Latin Quarter. Over tea, she poured out her fears. He's slipping away, abuela. I don't know what I did wrong. Her abuela's eyes, wise with years of survival, studied her. Sometimes men drift because they're lost in themselves, not because of you. But don't shrink to fit his absence. Nina, you are enough. Elena clung to those words, but evidence mounted. Marcus canceled a family dinner with Theodore one Sunday, texting an excuse. Elena attended alone, making polite apologies. Theodore's gaze was piercing. Is my son under pressure, or is something else going on? He's been distant, she admitted, voice cracking. Work might be the issue. Theodore leaned forward. Ask him directly. Marriage requires truth, not assumptions. That evening, alone in the penthouse, Elena found a scarf in Marcus's car, scented with a perfume not her own. Expensive, deliberate, unfamiliar. Her heart raced as she clutched it, the fabric a tangible betrayal. She confronted him when he returned, holding the scarf aloft. Whose is this? He froze, then shrugged. Probably Claire's. She borrowed my car for errands. The lie was flimsy, his eyes avoiding hers. Elena pressed. You're never here, Marcus. Late nights, secret calls. Who's V? He bristled. You're paranoid. I told you, work's intense. Stop interrogating me. I'm not interrogating, she said. I'm fighting for us. Voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. But you're building walls, and I'm not blind. His gaze turned cold. Maybe I'm building walls, because you're suffocating me with questions. I need space, Elena. The words landed like blows, precise and painful. She stood her ground. Space, or someone else. He grabbed his keys and left without answering, the door slamming behind him. Elena sank to the floor, the scarf still in her hands. This wasn't a rough patch, it was a deliberate unraveling. She thought of Sophia's warning, her abuela's wisdom. Her gut screamed what her heart resisted. Marcus was hiding something, or someone. As she stared out at the city skyline, the lights blurring through unshed tears, Elena realized the cracks in their marriage weren't just fissures. There were warnings of a collapse she could no longer ignore. Somewhere, in a sleek office across town, Victoria Kane smiled at her phone, typing another message to Marcus. The game was only beginning, and Elena was about to discover just how high the stakes were. Elena sat in the dim glow of the penthouse living room, the city skyline a silent witness beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. The scarf, scented with unfamiliar perfume, lay crumpled in her lap, its presence a nagging accusation she couldn't dismiss. Marcus had brushed it off as Claire's, his assistant, but the lie felt flimsy, unraveling under the weight of her intuition. For weeks, his late nights, curt responses, and secretive phone habits had chipped away at her trust. She resolved to uncover the truth tonight, no matter how much it hurt. The next morning, Marcus left early, claiming another urgent meeting. Elena waited until his car disappeared down the avenue, then pulled on a jacket and headed to the Latin Quarter to see her abuela. The familiar streets, alive with vendors and salsa music, grounded her. Over coffee in the cramped kitchen, she spilled her fears. Abuela, I found a scarf in his car. It's not mine. He's lying, and I don't know what to do. Her abuela, weathered by years of survival, set down her mug. Nina, I survived a man who broke promises. Trust your eyes and your heart. If he's hiding something, find proof before he twists your truth. Elena nodded, her resolve hardening. That afternoon, she returned to the penthouse and rifled through Marcus's study, a space she rarely entered. His desk was orderly, but a drawer revealed a crumpled receipt from La Belle Étoile, an upscale restaurant known for intimate dinners. The date matched a night he claimed to be working late. 2 entrees, a bottle of vintage wine, no business meal. Her pulse quickened. She tucked the receipt in her pocket, evidence to confront him later. Determined to know more, Elena did something she never imagined. She followed him. That evening, Marcus texted about another late meeting. She hailed a cab and directed it to his office tower. From across the street, she watched him exit, not alone but with Victoria Kane, the polished executive who lingered too long at Gala's. They climbed into his car, laughing, her hand brushing his arm with familiarity. Elena's heart sank as they drove to a discreet lounge in a quieter part of town. She saw them seated close together through the tinted windows, heads bent together, their intimacy unmistakable. She didn't confront him then. Instead, she returned home, the image searing her mind. Sleep evaded her, replaced by a resolve to face the truth head-on. She visited her friend Sophia at a local art studio the next day. Sophia, painting a vibrant canvas, listened as Elena recounted the lounge sighting. "That's not work, amiga. That's betrayal. What's your next move?" "I confront him," Elena said, voice steady, no more dodging. That evening, Marcus returned home, his usual nonchalance in place. Elena waited in the kitchen, the receipt and scarf on the counter like exhibits in a trial. "We need to talk," she said, her tone calm but unyielding. He sighed, loosening his tie. "Can it wait? I'm exhausted." "No, it can't." She held up the receipt. "This is from La Belle Étoile. It was a night you said you were working. And this scarf, not Claire's, whose is it, Marcus?" His face flickered with surprise, then settled into defiance. "You're digging through my things now? It was a client dinner. The scarf's nothing." "Stop lying," she snapped, her composure cracking. "I saw you last night with Victoria at that lounge. That wasn't business." Marcus froze, his eyes narrowing. "You followed me? That's low, Elena. Lower than cheating, because that's what this is." Her voice trembled, but she held his gaze. "Who is she to you?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "Fine. Victoria's someone I work closely with. She gets the pressure I'm under, the kind you don't understand. Things happened, but it's not what you think." "Not what I think? You're sneaking around, lying to my face. What am I supposed to believe?" He shrugged, a gesture so casual it stung. "It's not serious, just a release. You're still my wife." The words landed like a slap, stripping away the last of her illusions. Elena's mind flashed to her abuela's stories of surviving betrayal, of choosing dignity over despair. She took a steadying breath. "So, I'm supposed to accept this, share with you." Marcus leaned against the counter, his tone almost reasonable. "Why not? You have everything here. The penthouse, the lifestyle. Most women in your position would see the practicality." "Practicality?" Elena's voice rose, raw with hurt. "I'm your wife, not a business deal." He checked his watch, dismissive. "I have a call. Think about what you want, Elena. This doesn't have to change anything." As he walked away, her anger crystallized into clarity. This wasn't love, it was manipulation. She called Sophia, needing an anchor. "He admitted it, Sophia. He's with her and expects me to stay." Sophia's voice was fierce. "Leave, Elena. You're stronger than his lies." Elena hung up and walked to her abuela's, seeking wisdom. Her abuela listened, then took her hand. "You come from women who rebuilt from ashes. If he can't honor you, he doesn't deserve you." Returning home, Elena found Marcus gone, likely with Victoria. She sat with the prenup papers, recalling the clauses she'd barely skimmed. A memory surfaced. Theodore's lawyer emphasized her co-signatory role on key asset protection accounts. At the time, it seemed routine. Now, it felt like a hidden power she hadn't grasped. Elena attended a family lunch at Theodore's estate the next day, hoping for insight. Theodore was curt. "Marcus is under pressure. The waterfront deal's massive. Please don't add to his stress." "Is that why he's with Victoria?" she asked, testing the waters. Theodore's eyes sharpened. "Victoria Kane? Her father's our partner. She's ambitious, but Marcus knows his duties." The evasive response confirmed her suspicions. Victoria wasn't just a fling. Back home, Elena found an email on Marcus's open laptop, which was accidentally left unlocked, from Victoria. "Waterfront deals on track. Meet me tonight to finalize our strategy." Our strategy. The words hinted at more than an affair. Victoria, daughter of Theodore's key partner, had motives beyond romance. Was she using Marcus to gain leverage in the Langford empire? Elena's mind raced. She needed proof, not just of betrayal, but of whatever game Victoria played. That night, Marcus returned, oblivious to her discoveries. Elena faced him, voice steady. "I know about Victoria. I know you're planning something with her beyond an affair. Tell me the truth, or I'm done." He laughed, cold and dismissive. "Done? You'll never walk away from this life, Elena. You're in too deep." Her resolve hardened. "Watch me." As he stormed out, Elena stood alone, the receipt and scarf her evidence of a crumbling marriage. The city lights glittered outside, indifferent to her pain. But within her, a fire was kindled, fueled by her abuela's strength and unyielding spirit. Marcus thought she was trapped. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Elena stood in the penthouse kitchen, her heart pounding as Marcus's laughter echoed in her ears. His words, "You'll never walk away from this life," hung heavy, a challenge she felt in her bones. The receipt from La Belle Étoile and the perfume-scented scarf lay on the counter, undeniable proof of his betrayal of Victoria Kane. But his casual dismissal, his belief that she was tethered to his wealth, ignited a fire within her. She thought of her abuela's stories of women who rebuilt from nothing, and the prenup she'd signed without fully understanding, its clauses weaving her into the Langford financial empire. Tonight, she would demand the truth, no matter the cost. Marcus returned after midnight, his face a mask of irritation as he found her waiting, arms crossed. "We're not done," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "You were admitted to Victoria. Now tell me everything. How long? Why? What's she to you?" He tossed his keys onto the counter, exhaling sharply. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Elena. It's not some grand conspiracy. Victoria's a colleague who gets the pressure I'm under. Things happened. It's not serious." "Not serious?" she snapped, stepping closer. "You sneak around, lie to my face, and call it not serious. I saw you with her. I deserve the truth." He met her gaze, his eyes cold and calculating. "Fine. You want the raw truth? Victoria's part of my world, the one you'll never fully fit into. She speaks my language and understands the stakes of the waterfront deal. You're my wife, Elena, but you're too simple for that reality. I need both, her for business, you for home." The words sliced through her, each one a precise wound. "You need both?" she repeated, disbelief turning to rage. "You think I'll share you like some business asset? I'm your wife, not your housekeeper." Marcus leaned back, his tone infuriatingly calm. "Most women in your position would see the logic. You have everything. This penthouse, security, status. Why throw it away over something that doesn't affect you? I'm not ending things with her, but I don't want to lose you either. You keep my life stable, Elena. You're good at that." Her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. "Stable? That's what I am to you? A prop to make your life look good?" He shrugged, checking his watch. "Call it what you want. I'm offering honesty. Most men in my circle do this quietly. I'm giving you the chance to stay and keep everything. Or walk away and see how far you get without me. You choose." Elena's mind flashed to the prenup, the clauses making her a co-signatory on key accounts. Theodore's lawyers had framed it as protection, but now she saw its power. Marcus assumed her dependence, but she held leverage he hadn't considered. "You think I'm too weak to leave," she said, voice low and fierce. "You're wrong. I come from a woman who survived wars and crossed borders with nothing. I don't need your money or your name." He laughed again, a sound that chilled her. "Prove it then. Walk out that door. You'll be back in a week when reality hits. Pride doesn't pay bills." Without another word, Elena turned and walked to their bedroom. She pulled a worn duffel bag from the closet, the same one she'd brought when she moved in, its faint scent of her abuela's lavender sachets grounding her. She packed only what was hers: faded jeans from her freelancing days, t-shirts soft with memories, her camera that captured her world before Marcus, and her abuela's quilt, a tapestry of survival. She untouched the designer dresses, jewelry, and credit cards tied to his accounts. They belonged to the version of herself she was shedding. In the quiet of the penthouse, she moved to the entryway table, a slab of marble symbolizing their shared life. She removed her wedding ring, its diamond catching the light, and placed it deliberately in the center. Next to it, she laid the house keys, car keys, and credit cards, each item a rejection of his control. The arrangement was precise, a silent declaration, "I choose myself." She took a photo of the tableau with her phone, a record of her exit, then typed a single text to Marcus, "I'm choosing dignity. Please don't contact me." She blocked his number before he could reply, severing his ability to manipulate her back. Elena stepped into the cool night air with her duffel slung over her shoulder. The city hummed around her, indifferent to her unraveling life. Her bank account held $847, saved from selling old camera lenses, a small act of foresight she hadn't fully understood until now. She called her abuela's sister Isabella, a woman who'd survived an abusive marriage and rebuilt in the Latin Quarter. "Tia, it's Elena. I need a place to stay, just for a while." Isabella's voice was warm, unwavering. "Come home, Nina. The guest bed's waiting. No questions unless you want to talk." Elena ordered a rideshare, sitting on her bag at the curb while waiting. The driver, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, glanced at her simple duffel and the penthouse behind her, confusion flickering across his face. "Just the one bag. It's all I need," she said, climbing in. As they drove to Isabella's modest home, Elena felt a strange calm. The weight of Marcus's world lifted, replaced by uncertainty and possibility. She thought of her abuela's words, "Sometimes, leaving is the strongest thing you can do." The city blurred past, its lights a canvas of new beginnings. At Isabella's, the door opened before Elena knocked. Her tia enveloped her in a fierce hug, smelling of herbs and home. "You're safe here," Isabella said. "You're stronger than he knows." Elena's voice cracked as she spoke. "He's with someone else. Expected me to accept it. I couldn't." Isabella nodded, unsurprised. "You chose you. That's power, Nina." They sat at the kitchen table, tea steaming between them. Elena confessed her fears. "I have $847. No job, no plan. What if he's right? What if I can't survive?" "He's not right," Isabella said firmly. "You come from survivors. You'll build again." As Elena settled into the guest room, the scent of lavender from her quilt soothing her, she felt the first stirrings of freedom. Marcus thought she'd crumble without him, but in that quiet night, with the city's pulse outside and her own heartbeat steady, she knew she'd prove him wrong. Across town, Marcus stared at his phone, her text glaring back. He laughed it off, sure she'd return. He didn't yet know the empire he'd built was about to tremble, its foundations tied to the woman he'd underestimated. Elena woke to the soft hum of the Latin Quarter outside Isabella's modest home, the familiar sounds of street vendors and distant salsa music grounding her in a way the penthouse never could. The guest room was small, its walls adorned with faded family photos and a cross stitched by her abuela. Her duffel bag sat in the corner, a reminder of the life she'd left behind hours ago. With only $847 in her account and no clear plan, fear tugged at her edges, but so did a quiet resolve. Marcus's words echoed. "You'll be back in a week," but she was determined to prove him wrong, drawing strength from the women in her family who'd built lives from nothing. Isabella was already in the kitchen, frying arepas, her presence steady as stone. "You sleep okay, Nina?" she asked, sliding a plate toward Elena. "Barely," Elena admitted, wrapping her hands around a mug of coffee. "I keep replaying it. He thought I'd stay for the money." Isabella snorted. "Men like that think money buys everything. You showed him it doesn't buy you." Elena managed a small smile, but reality loomed. Her freelance photography gigs had dried up during her marriage, and her portfolio was outdated in a digital-first world. She needed income, fast. Her fingers brushed the beaded bracelet on her wrist as she ate, a gift from her abuela made with traditional Colombian techniques. An idea sparked. She could create something, channel her pain into art like her ancestors did. After breakfast, Elena walked through the neighborhood, her camera in hand. The vibrant chaos of the quarter, children playing in alleys, murals splashed across brick walls, felt like home. She photographed a vendor weaving intricate patterns with beads, the colors reminding her of her abuela's stories about crafting to survive. Back at Isabella's, she rummaged through a drawer and found wire, beads, and tools, remnants of her tia's creative days. Sitting at the kitchen table, she began twisting wire into shapes inspired by Latin folklore, vines curling through adversity, stars breaking through darkness. Each piece felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. Isabella watched, nodding approvingly. "Those are beautiful, Nina. You could sell them." Elena hesitated. "I'm not trained. Who'd buy these?" "People buy stories, not just objects," Isabella said. "Your story's worth telling." Spurred by necessity, Elena photographed her creations using afternoon light, her photography skills making the rough pieces glow like small sculptures. She posted them on a neglected social media account, naming her fledgling brand Ola Latin, a nod to her heritage and resilience. The descriptions were raw. "Made from pain and hope, inspired by my abuela's strength." She priced them low, doubting anyone would bite. To her surprise, a few orders trickled in within hours. Comments poured from old followers. "Where have you been? These speak to me." A single mother from her neighborhood messaged, "Your story gives me courage. Keep going." The words lit a spark. This wasn't just about money, it was a connection. But survival was brutal. Elena's $847 dwindled fast. Bus fares, supplies, and a small contribution to Isabella's rent ate into it. She applied for freelance gigs, but rejections stung. The industries shifted, one editor emailed, "Your work's dated." Desperate, she worked part-time at a local cafe, serving coffee to make ends meet. The work was grueling, her pride bruised, but it kept her afloat. One evening, exhausted, Elena sat with Isabella, weaving beads into a new design. "I feel like I'm failing, Tia. I left everything, and I'm barely scraping by." Isabella squeezed her hand. "You're not failing, you're starting. That's harder." Elena nodded, but doubt lingered. She posted more jewelry, each piece a story of survival. One called Rays for her roots, another Estrella for hope. Orders grew, enough to cover basic supplies, but competition loomed. A rival artisan copied her style, undercutting her prices online. Elena panicked, her savings now at $200. She reached out to Sophia, her artist friend, for advice. "You need community," Sophia said over tacos at their favorite stand. "Host a workshop. Teach others what you're learning. It'll spread your name." Elena leaped, renting a cheap community center room with her last funds. She advertised a free workshop for women in the Latin Quarter, focusing on beading as healing. 10 women showed up, their stories mirroring hers: abusive relationships, financial struggles, dreams deferred. Elena shared her journey, voice breaking as she spoke of leaving Marcus. "We're not broken," she told them. "We're weaving something new." The workshop was a success. Participants left with bracelets and courage, spreading the word of Ola Latin. Orders spiked, and a local boutique owner contacted her, offering to carry a few pieces. "It's not much," she warned, "but it's a start." Elena accepted, delivering her work by hand. The boutique sold out in days, customers drawn to the raw authenticity. But challenges persisted. A supplier raised prices, forcing Elena to skip meals to afford materials. One night, too tired to create, she stared at her camera, unused for weeks. Then, inspiration struck. She began photographing the neighborhood again, posting images alongside her jewelry. Cracked sidewalks blooming with weeds, elders laughing on stoops. The posts went viral in her community, amplifying her brand. Isabella noticed the change. "You're glowing, Nina, not because of sales, but because you're you again." Elena smiled, twisting wire into a piece called Renacer, Rebirth. She was surviving, but barely. The cafe job drained her, and rejections still stung. Yet each sale, each message from a customer saying her work gave them strength, fueled her. She wasn't just selling jewelry, she was building a legacy. Across town, Marcus sat in his office, staring at Elena's text. "I'm choosing dignity." He'd laughed it off, expecting her return. But that morning, his assistant Claire rushed in, pale. "The bank's on the line. Urgent." Your accounts need Mrs. Langford's signature for significant transactions. What? Marcus snapped. That's impossible. It's the prenup, sir. She's a co-signatory on key trusts. Without her, everything's frozen. Marcus's world tilted. He dialed Elena's number. Blocked. He called Theodore, who exploded. Fix this, Marcus. The waterfront deal's at risk. She felt a quiet power as Elena wove another piece, unaware of the chaos she'd unleashed. Marcus had underestimated her, but his empire rested on her signature. She wasn't running back. Though uncertain, the gilded cage was behind her, and the world ahead was hers to shape. Marcus Langford sat in his sleek office, the city skyline sprawling beyond his window, a monument to his family's power. But today, that power felt like a house of cards. His phone buzzed incessantly. Bankers, lawyers, his father Theodore, all demanding answers he didn't have. Elena's departure, marked by her precise arrangement of rings, keys, and cards on the penthouse marble table, had seemed like a dramatic gesture he'd dismissed with a laugh. She'd be back, he'd thought, unable to survive without his wealth. Now, reality was unraveling his confidence. The prenup, a labyrinth of clauses designed by Theodore's lawyers, had made Elena a co-signatory on critical accounts and trusts, a safeguard for tax benefits and liability protection. His financial empire was frozen without her signature, and the consequences were cascading. The morning after Elena left, Marcus faced his first crisis. His assistant, Claire, burst in during a meeting with investors, her voice tight. "Mr. Langford, the bank's called 5 times. It's urgent. They need Mrs. Langford's authorization for transactions exceeding 10 million. Marcus excused himself, irritation masking his growing unease. "That's absurd," he told the banker on the phone. "These are my accounts. Process them." The banker's tone was clipped. "Sir, the prenup's structure requires both signatures for major moves. We've tried contacting Mrs. Langford. She's unresponsive." "How many accounts?" Marcus demanded, his pulse quickening. 16, with substantial pending transfers. Without her, you're locked out. The number hit like a punch. Hundreds of millions tied up, threatening payroll, vendor payments, and the waterfront development deal, a project his father had staked their legacy on. Marcus ended the call, hands trembling, and dialed Elena. Blocked. He tried from Claire's phone, then a burner. No response. His empire, built on years of calculated moves, was stalling because of a woman he'd underestimated. Theodore's call came next, his voice a blade of fury. "What have you done, Marcus? The Waterfront Trust needs Elena's signature by tomorrow, or we lose 70 million in commitments. Where is she?" "We fought," Marcus admitted, voice tight. "She's gone, temporarily." "Temporarily?" Theodore roared. "You don't know where your wife is, and our empire's crumbling? Fix this, or you're no son of mine." The threat cut deeper than Marcus expected. He drove to Isabella's home in the Latin Quarter, a place he'd once mocked as beneath him. Pounding on the door, he shouted Elena's name, drawing glares from neighbors. An older man washing his car nearby spoke up. "She's not here, and she doesn't want you. Isabella told us what you did, cheating and expecting her to accept it. Get lost." Humiliated, Marcus retreated, his polished facade cracking. Back at the penthouse, he stared at the marble table, Elena's rings glinting like a rebuke. He hadn't anticipated this. She was supposed to need him, not hold his world hostage. His lawyer, Richard, called with grim news. "The prenup's airtight. Elena's embedded in your financial structure, trusts, accounts, even the waterfront deal. You signed off on it in 2023, remember? For asset protection. Undoing it requires her cooperation or a court order, which could take months and expose you to tax liabilities. Why wasn't I warned?" Marcus snapped. "You were," Richard said dryly. "You didn't think she'd leave." Marcus's mind raced. He'd authorized the prenup's clauses, distracted by deals, never imagining Elena would wield such power. Vendors were unpaid, partners were restless, and the waterfront deadline loomed. He tried mutual friends, but responses were cold. His college friend Ethan was blunt. "You told her to accept your mistress. You're a fool, Marcus. She's gone because you gave her no choice." Even Victoria Kane, the spark of his betrayal, grew distant. Over dinner, she was cool, her ambition clear. "I thought you had an arrangement with Elena. This mess complicates things. I don't need drama, Marcus. It's under control," he lied, but her eyes narrowed. "She said to call me when it's not a circus," leaving him alone at the table. Theodore summoned Marcus to the family estate that evening. The patriarch's study, lined with mahogany and trophies of conquest, felt like a courtroom. "You've jeopardized everything," Theodore said, voice low and lethal. "I designed that prenup to protect us, not to let your wife hold us hostage. Did you know she was on those accounts?" "I didn't think it mattered," Marcus admitted, shame creeping in. "You insisted on the structure." "Because I thought you'd keep your marriage intact," Theodore slammed his desk. "I pushed for Elena as a co-signatory to distribute liability, not to let her paralyze us. The waterfront deal's dead if we miss tomorrow's deadline. Jobs lost, contracts breached. Fix it, or you're out of the company." Marcus left, reeling. Theodore's revelation stung. The prenup wasn't just legal maneuvering. It was his father's way of controlling him, ensuring the empire's stability through Elena's presence. He'd been a pawn in his father's game as much as Elena had. Driving through the city, he tried Isabella's again, but the house was dark, neighbors watched, hostile. His private failure was now public gossip. Back at the penthouse, Marcus poured a whiskey, staring at Elena's photo on his desk, a candid shot from their honeymoon, her smile radiant. He dismissed her as ornamental, but she was structural, woven into his world in ways he hadn't grasped. The bank called again, reporting more frozen transactions. His lawyer suggested a legal fight, but it would be costly, public, and slow. Elena held the keys, and she wasn't answering. Across town, Elena sat at Isabella's kitchen table, twisting wire into a new Ola Latin piece, unaware of the chaos unfolding. Her phone, silenced, buzzed with blocked numbers. Marcus, his team, maybe Theodore. She ignored them, focusing on her craft. Each bead she threaded was a step away from his gilded cage, reclaiming her power. Isabella watched, her eyes soft but fierce. "You're doing right, Nina. Let him feel the weight of his choices." Elena nodded, her fingers steady. "I needed him. I don't. I never did." As she worked, a message came from Sophia. "Heard Marcus's empire is shaking. You're stronger than you know." Elena smiled grimly. Marcus had built his world on her compliance, assuming she'd never walk away. Now his empire teetered because he'd failed to see her strength. The waterfront deal's deadline loomed, and with it, the unraveling of everything he'd taken for granted. Crafting under the dim kitchen light, Elena was beginning to understand the power she held, not just over his accounts, but over her own future. The cage was open, and she was free. Elena Morales sat at a small table in Isabella's cramped kitchen, surrounded by beads and wire, her fingers deftly crafting another piece for Ola Latin. The Latin quarter hummed outside, a comforting pulse of life that contrasted with the sterile luxury of Marcus's penthouse. 3 weeks had passed since she'd left behind rings, keys, and a life tethered to his wealth. Her $847 had dwindled to $150, forcing her to ration supplies and skip meals to keep her fledgling jewelry business alive. The cafe job she'd taken to survive was grueling, her hands stained with coffee grounds daily and calloused from wire by night. Yet each piece she created, Raiz, Estrella, Renacer, carried her pain and hope, transforming betrayal into art inspired by her Colombian heritage. Her first workshop at the community center had sparked a small but growing following. Women from the Latin Quarter, many survivors of their own struggles, shared stories as they learned to weave beads, their creations mirroring Elena's, raw, imperfect, powerful. Orders trickled in through her social media, each sale a lifeline. But the market was brutal. A rival artisan, noticing her traction, began mimicking her designs, undercutting her prices with mass-produced knockoffs. Elena's heart sank when a customer returned a piece, citing a cheaper alternative. "I can't compete," she told Isabella one evening, frustration cracking her voice. "I'm pouring everything into this, and it's not enough." Isabella set a mug of tea before her. "You're not just selling jewelry, Nina. You're selling your story. That's what they can't copy. Keep going. Elena nodded, but doubt gnawed. She poured her energy into new designs, incorporating vibrant Latin motifs, quipu knots, sunburst patterns, each piece a testament to her roots. She photographed them against the backdrop of the quarter's murals and cracked sidewalks, posting captions that bared her soul. Made from heartbreak, shaped by strength. To her surprise, the posts resonated. A local blog featured Ola Latin, calling it a beacon of resilience. Orders doubled to cover rent for Isabella's guest room and new supplies, but challenges persisted. The cafe cut her hours, citing slow business, leaving her scrambling. She applied for freelance photography gigs only to face rejections.
Your portfolio's outdated. Social media is the king now.
Desperate, she pitched a photo series to a community magazine, blending her jewelry with images of the quarter's life, elders weaving, children dancing. The editor agreed, offering a small fee. It wasn't much, but hers, earned through her lens and grit. One night, as Elena worked late, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was Victoria Kane, Marcus's mistress. "We need to talk. Meet me tomorrow, or I'll make things more complicated for you." The threat sent a chill through Elena. What could Victoria want? Was this about Marcus's frozen accounts, which she'd learned about through Sophia's gossip network? Elena hesitated, then replied, "Name the place." The next day, Elena met Victoria at a sleek downtown cafe, far from her world. Victoria, dressed in designer silk, exuded cold confidence. "You're causing problems, Elena. Marcus's deals are stalling because of you. Sign the papers and I'll make it worth your while." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Worth my while? You think I left him for a payoff?" Victoria smirked. "Everyone has a price. Name yours." "I'm not for sale," Elena said, standing. "You and Marcus made your choices. Deal with them." As she walked away, Victoria called after her. "You'll regret this. I know things that could ruin you both." The threat lingered, but Elena refused to bend. Back at Isabella's, she confided in her tia. "Victoria's playing a game. I think she's after more than Marcus." Isabella's eyes darkened. "She's a snake, Nina. Watch your back, but don't let her scare you." Elena channeled her fear into her work. She organized another workshop, charging a small fee to cover costs. 20 women attended, their stories of survival, abusive partners, lost jobs echoing hers. One participant, a young mother named Rosa, clutched her finished bracelet. "This is the first thing I've made for myself," she said, tears in her eyes. "You showed me I can start over." The moment fueled Elena. She began mentoring Rosa, teaching her to sell her own crafts online. The community grew, each woman amplifying Ola Latin's reach. A boutique in a trendy district offered to stock her pieces, selling out in a week. Customers left notes. "Your story saved me. I left my husband because of you." Elena framed one note, hanging it beside her workbench as a reminder of her purpose. But the rival artisan struck again, flooding social media with ads mimicking her aesthetic. Elena fought back, posting a video explaining her process, her voice raw. "These pieces come from my heart, my heritage. They're not just jewelry, they're survival." The video went viral, and women across the city shared it. Orders surged, enough to quit the cafe and focus on Ola Latin full-time. One evening, Sophia visited, bringing tacos and news. Word is that Marcus's empire is crumbling. Accounts frozen, deals collapsing. You're his kryptonite, amiga. Elena frowned. "It's not about revenge. I want to live." "And you are," Sophia said. "You're building something real." As orders piled up, Elena faced new hurdles, sourcing affordable materials, managing shipping. She taught herself basic accounting, staying up late with spreadsheets. Isabella helped, sharing lessons from her own days running a small business. "You're learning fast, Nina. Your abuela would be proud." Elena's phone buzzed with another message from Victoria. "You can't hide forever. Sign or I'll expose your past." The cryptic threat puzzled Elena. Her past? She'd grown up poor but honest, and her life was an open book. Was Victoria bluffing, or did she know something about Marcus's deals? Elena saved the message, sensing a deeper game. Under the kitchen light, Elena crafted a new piece, naming it Fuego, fire. It was bold, with red beads like embers, symbolizing her burning resolve. She posted it with a caption, born from ashes, stronger than before. The response was overwhelming. Orders, messages, and even a request from a local gallery to showcase her work. As she packed pieces for the boutique, Elena felt a shift. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, piece by piece. Marcus's world was unraveling, but hers was taking shape, rooted in her heritage and fueled by her refusal to break. Victoria's threat loomed, a storm on the horizon, but Elena was ready. She'd walked through fire and emerged stronger. Whatever came next, she'd face it on her terms. Elena Morales sat in the community center, surrounded by women weaving beads under her guidance, their laughter mingling with the hum of the Latin Quarter outside. Her Hola Latin jewelry brand was gaining traction, with orders and a gallery showcase on the horizon. But Victoria Kane's cryptic threat, "Sign, or I'll expose your past," hung over her like a gathering storm. Elena's past was no secret. Poverty, resilience, a life built on her abuela's lessons. What did Victoria know? And why was she so desperate to force Elena's hand? Elena's mind churned as she taught her workshop, sensing a deeper game tied to Marcus's crumbling empire. That evening, alone at Isabella's kitchen table, Elena sifted through her memories of the prenup. The clauses making her a co-signatory on Marcus's accounts weren't just legal formalities. They were Theodore's design to protect the Langford empire. She recalled a fleeting moment during the signing, when the lawyer mentioned offshore accounts linked to the waterfront deal. Could Victoria be after those? Elena needed answers, and she wasn't waiting for threats to materialize. She contacted Sophia, who had connections in the city's business circles. "Can you dig into Victoria Kane? She's playing Marcus, maybe Theodore too." Sophia agreed, tapping her network. Meanwhile, Elena hired a lawyer, Maria Cortez, through a community legal aid program. Maria, a sharp Latina with a history of fighting for underdogs, reviewed the prenup. "You're a linchpin, Elena," she said, scanning the documents. "Your signature locks major accounts, hundreds of millions. Victoria's pushing you because, without it, the Langfords are paralyzed." "Why me?" Elena asked. "I never asked for this power." "Theodore's paranoia," Maria replied. "He used you as a safeguard, thinking you'd stay loyal. Now, you're their Achilles heel." Maria suggested gathering evidence on Victoria's motives. Elena started by saving Victoria's threatening texts, sensing they hinted at more than an affair. Sophia called 2 days later with a bombshell. Victoria's father, a Langford partner, is in debt. Rumor is she's pushing the waterfront deal to funnel funds to him. She's using Marcus, not just sleeping with him. Elena's heart raced. Victoria wasn't just a mistress, but a schemer, leveraging Marcus's weakness to siphon the empire's wealth. Elena needed proof to protect herself and expose the truth. She agreed to meet Victoria again, this time on her terms, at a crowded diner in the Latin Quarter where she felt safe. Maria prepped her: record everything, stay calm, get her to talk. At the diner, Victoria arrived, her polished facade fraying. "You're stubborn, Elena," she said, sliding into the booth. "Sign the papers, and I'll ensure you're set for life." Elena leaned forward, her phone discreetly recording. "Set how? With what? You're not in charge of Marcus's money." Victoria's smile was sharp. "I know enough to make you regret crossing me. Your past, those shady deals your family ran in Colombia. I can leak that." Elena's blood ran cold, but she held firm. "My family? We were poor, not criminals. You're bluffing. What's your real play, Victoria? The waterfront deal?" Victoria's eyes flickered, caught off guard. "You think you're clever. That deal's bigger than you know. Sign, or you'll lose more than your marriage." "Like what?" Elena pressed. "You're not after Marcus's heart. You're after his accounts. Whose orders are you following? Your father's?" Victoria stood abruptly, her composure cracking. "You're out of your depth. Last chance, Elena." As she left, Elena replayed the recording for Maria. "It's enough to start digging," Maria said. "Her mention of Colombia's a distraction, but the waterfront deal's the key. We need documents." Elena reached out to Claire, Marcus's assistant, who'd always been kind. Over coffee, Claire hesitated but confessed. "Victoria's been pushing Marcus to redirect funds from the waterfront trust." I saw emails about shady transfers to offshore accounts. I think she's skimming. Can you get those emails? Elena asked. Claire nodded, fear in her eyes. If Theodore finds out, I'm fired, but I'll help. Days later, Claire delivered printed emails. Victoria instructing Marcus to approve transfers, citing her father's financial rescue. The amounts were staggering. Millions siphoned under the guise of project costs. Elena and Maria compiled the evidence, building a case against Victoria and exposing her manipulation of Marcus. The confrontation came at a tense meeting Maria arranged, on neutral ground in a law firm's conference room. Marcus arrived, haggard, unaware of the trap. Victoria entered, confident until she saw Elena and Maria. Theodore, informed by Maria, joined last, his presence icy. What's this? Marcus demanded, glancing at Elena. The truth, Elena said, sliding the emails across the table. Victoria's been using you to funnel money to her father's accounts. The waterfront deal's a front. Victoria paled. That's nonsense. Those are fabricated. Maria held up the recordings. Your own words, Victoria, threatening Elena, admitting to the deal's importance. We've traced the transfers. Your father's debts are public record. Theodore's voice was lethal. You thought you could bleed my empire? You're done. Marcus stared at the emails, betrayal dawning. You played me, he said to Victoria. This wasn't just us. It was a scheme. Victoria stood, defiant. You're weak, Marcus. You made it easy. Theodore cut in. You're fired. Your father's out of the partnership. Expect lawsuits. As Victoria stormed out, Marcus turned to Elena, guilt in his eyes. I didn't know. I thought. You thought you could have it all, Elena said, voice steady. You hurt me, Marcus, but you were her pawn too. Theodore interrupted, his tone softer. Elena, you've exposed a cancer in my company. I misjudged you. But we need your signature to save the waterfront deal. Name your terms. Elena met his gaze. I'll sign to stabilize things, but not for you or Marcus. For the workers who'd lose jobs otherwise. In return, I want full financial release from the prenup. No ties to your empire. Theodore nodded. Done. As they left, Marcus lingered. Elena, I'm sorry. I was blind. Save it, she said, walking away. Fix yourself, Marcus. Not for me, for you. Elena crafted a new piece at Isabella's, naming it Verdad, Truth. Her phone buzzed with Ola Latin orders, the gallery confirming her showcase. Victoria's scheme was unmasked, but the battle wasn't over. Marcus's empire hung by a thread, and Elena's power was undeniable. She'd faced the fire, exposed the truth, and emerged stronger. The future was hers, and no one, not Marcus, not Victoria, could take it away. Elena Morales stepped into the quiet hum of a downtown coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans grounding her as she prepared to face Marcus Langford. Weeks had passed since she'd exposed Victoria Kane's scheme to siphon funds from the waterfront deal, a revelation that shook the Langford empire and severed Marcus's affair. Her Ola Latin jewelry brand was thriving, with orders flooding in and a gallery showcase looming, but the weight of her past with Marcus lingered. Today, at a women's entrepreneurship gala where she'd be honored, they'd agreed to meet beforehand to address unfinished truths. Elena, guided by her lawyer Maria Cortez, wanted closure, not revenge, to fully step into her new life. The cafe was neutral ground, its worn tables a far cry from the penthouse they'd once shared. Elena wore a simple dress adorned with a Ola Latin necklace, its quipu-inspired knots symbolizing her Colombian heritage and resilience. Marcus arrived, his tailored suit unable to mask the weariness in his eyes. He looked older, the arrogance that once defined him replaced by something raw, almost fragile. Thanks for meeting me, he said, sitting across from her. I needed to say things I couldn't before. Elena nodded, her expression calm but guarded. Go ahead, I'm listening. Marcus exhaled, his hands fidgeting with a coffee cup. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand why I did what I did. Victoria, the lies and how I treated you weren't just arrogance. I was raised to believe success meant control, that I could have everything without consequences. My father drilled that into me. I thought you'd stay because I provided, but I was wrong. You were the strongest part of my life, and I broke that. His words stirred memories of their early love, sunset cruises, shared dreams. But Elena anchored herself in the present. You didn't just break us, Marcus. You dismissed me, made me feel small. You thought I needed your world more than my own dignity. He winced, nodding. I see that now. I was blind, chasing something I thought was power. Victoria played me, but I let her because I was weak, not you. I'm sorry, Elena. Not for forgiveness, but because you deserve to hear it. She studied him, seeing genuine remorse but no illusion of reconciliation. I appreciate the apology, she said, voice steady, but it doesn't erase the past. I stayed too long, convincing myself love meant accepting less. That was my mistake. Yours was thinking I'd never leave. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low. I need to ask, did you know about the prenup's power? Could your signature freeze my accounts? Elena shook her head, not fully. I signed it trusting you, not realizing Theodore used me to control you. When I left, I wasn't thinking about your empire. I was saving myself. He nodded, pain flickering in his eyes. My father was furious, but he admitted to his role. The prenup was his way of keeping me in line, using you as leverage. I never saw it until you walked away. I lost more than money, Elena. I lost you, and I'm living with that. The admission hung between them, heavy but honest. Elena sipped her coffee, considering her response. I've forgiven you, Marcus, not because you've earned it, but because anger held me back. I needed to rebuild, and I have. Hola, Latin isn't just jewelry. It's my freedom, heritage, proof that I don't need your world. Marcus's gaze softened. I've seen your work online. It's incredible. You're incredible. I wish I'd seen that sooner. Not as my wife, but as you. His sincerity disarmed her, but she held firm. What's love to you now? She asked, curious. You thought it was me needing you. What is it really? He paused, searching for words. It's seeing someone fully, choosing them every day, even when it's hard. I failed at that. I'm trying to learn, but it's too late for us. It is, she agreed, her voice gentle but final. Your growth is yours to carry, not mine to validate. I wish you well, Marcus, but my path is mine now. They sat silently, the weight of their shared history settling like dust. Marcus spoke again, softer. Do you ever think about the good times? Our nights cooking? The trips? Or did I ruin those too? Elena considered her answer truthful. They remind me that I can love deeply and give my all, but they also remind me never to lose myself again. Those memories are mine, not yours to claim. He nodded, accepting the boundary. I'll be at the gala tonight. I want to see you shine, even from a distance. It's a public event, she said, standing. You're welcome there, but don't expect more from me. As she left, Elena felt lighter, the conversation a necessary unburdening. She returned to Isabella's, where her tia was preparing for the gala. You saw him, Isabella said, reading her face. Feel better? Closure helps, Elena replied, smiling. It's done. Isabella hugged her. You're free, Nina. Now claim that stage. Across town, Marcus met Theodore at the Langford estate, the air thick with tension. Theodore, still reeling from Victoria's betrayal, was blunt. You've cost us millions, son, but Elena's signing saved the waterfront deal. She's more than you deserve. I know, Marcus said, voice low. I'm trying to be better. Theodore's eyes softened, a rare crack in his armor. I pushed you too hard, made you think love was weakness. I was wrong too. Fix yourself, Marcus, or you'll lose more than an empire. Marcus left, the weight of his father's words heavy. He'd lost Elena, his reputation, and Victoria's illusion of loyalty. Therapy was peeling back layers, but change was slow. He'd watch Elena rise tonight, knowing he'd been a catalyst for her strength, not a partner. Elena prepared for the gala, her dress a vibrant nod to Latin artistry, paired with a Hola Latin piece called Verdad. Isabella, Sophia, and her workshop women would join her, a community of strength. Looking in the mirror, she saw her abuela's resilience, her own fire. The confrontation with Marcus had closed a door, but the gala was a new beginning. The city glittered as she headed to the venue, her heart steady. Marcus's empire had faltered, but hers was rising, built on truth and tenacity. Whatever truths emerged tonight, Elena was ready, not as his wife, but as herself, whole and unbroken. The gala venue glowed under chandeliers, transformed into a celebration of women who'd turned obstacles into empires. Elena Morales moved through the crowd with an ease born of hard-won confidence, her vibrant dress woven with Latin motifs catching the light. Around her neck hung verdad, a Ola Latin necklace of quipu knots and red beads, a symbol of truth and fire. Tonight, she'd receive an award for her jewelry brand, a testament to her journey from Marcus Langford's gilded cage to her life. Isabella, Sophia, and her workshop women flanked her, their presence a reminder of the community that lifted her. As she stepped toward the stage, the weight of her past settled into pride. She'd built this, piece by piece, from ashes. The room buzzed with energy, attendees mingling with purpose. Entrepreneurs, artists, philanthropists, all drawn to stories of resilience. Elena stood near a window, city lights stretching below, centering herself before her speech. Isabella squeezed her arm. "You're radiant, Nina. Your abuela's smiling from the stars." "I feel her," Elena said, her voice soft. "I forgot who I was for a while, but I'm back." Sophia grinned, wearing a Ola Latin bracelet. "Show them what Latin strength looks like." The evening unfolded with speeches from other honorees, women who defied odds to build businesses and inspire others. Their stories echoed Elena's, refusing to shrink, claiming worth despite dismissal. When her name was called, she ascended the stage, the award gleaming. The audience, a mix of strangers and supporters, leaned forward, drawn to her presence. She scanned the crowd, spotting Marcus in the back row, his face mixed with regret and awe. She took a breath and began. "I'm supposed to thank people tonight," she said, her voice clear and steady. "And I will, my tia Isabella, my friend Sophia, the women who weave with me, all of you who've bought my work and shared my story. But first, I thank the person who broke me so entirely that I had to rebuild from nothing. That pain showed me who I am, not who I was molded to be for someone else's comfort." Murmurs rippled through the room, some guessing at Marcus's role. He shifted, eyes fixed on her, absorbing the truth. Elena continued, "That I spent years shrinking to fit a world that wasn't mine. I thought love meant flexibility, accepting less. But when that world demanded I betray myself, I walked away. Ola Latin, my jewelry, is my heritage, Colombian roots, resilience, the fire of my abuela's spirit. It's proof that we're not defined by what others give us, but by what we create." She paused, her gaze sweeping the audience. "To anyone feeling trapped, your worth isn't in their money or approval, it's in you. Leaving isn't failure, it's courage. What you build after is yours forever." The room erupted in applause, a standing ovation that vibrated with shared understanding. Women approached as she stepped down, sharing stories of leaving toxic relationships, starting over. A young Latina clutched her hand. "I left my boyfriend because of your posts. Thank you." Elena's heart swelled. This was her true success, not awards, but impact. As the crowd mingled, Marcus approached, his steps hesitant. "That was powerful," he said, voice low. "You've become someone extraordinary." "I've become myself," she corrected, her tone firm but not cruel. "I forgot her for a while, but she was always there." He nodded, pain etching his features. "I see it now. I destroyed the best thing I had, thinking I deserved more. Watching you tonight, I know I was wrong. I'm trying to change, Elena, for myself." She met his eyes, seeing sincerity but no expectation. "That's good, Marcus. Keep going. But my life's mine now. No strings to you." He swallowed, accepting the finality. "I wish you everything. You've earned it." "Goodbye, Marcus," she said, turning away. "Go well." He walked into the night, a man reckoning with his losses, determined to rebuild not for her, but for himself. Elena rejoined her group, Isabella's pride radiating. "You closed that door, Nina. Now the world's open." The gala ended, but Elena's journey surged forward. Ola Latin expanded, with orders from across the country and a partnership with an international fashion group secured through Maria's legal finesse. The deal preserved her creative control, amplifying her voice globally. She moved into a small studio in the Latin Quarter, its walls hung with her photographs and abuela's quilt, a space wholly hers, paid for with her earnings. Elena began teaching regular workshops, not just for profit but to empower. Women from marginalized communities flocked to learn, weaving their stories into beads. One participant, Rosa, launched her own small brand under Elena's guidance, paying forward the courage. A magazine feature followed, dubbing Hola Latin a movement of Latin resilience, sparking demand in Europe and Latin America. Yet, challenges remained. Competitors still copied her designs, and scaling strained her resources. Elena hired Rosa and another workshop alum, both survivors, to manage orders, creating jobs rooted in shared strength. She sourced materials from Colombian artisans, tying her brand to her roots while supporting global communities. One evening, a letter arrived from a woman in Bogotá. "I left an abusive marriage after reading your story. Your jewelry reminds me I'm enough." Elena framed it beside her workbench, a beacon through late nights of creation. Marcus, meanwhile, faced his own path. Therapy uncovered his father's control as the root of his flaws, pushing him to seek redemption through small acts, mentoring young entrepreneurs, distancing himself from Theodore's shadow. He followed Elena's rise from afar, her success a mirror to his failures. At a quiet moment, he wrote her a note he never sent. "You taught me what strength is. I'll keep learning." Elena stood in her studio crafting a new piece named Horizonte, its flowing lines evoking new beginnings. Her phone buzzed with a message from Rosa. "Just sold my first piece. Thank you for showing me it's possible." She smiled, the city's pulse syncing with her own. She'd lost Marcus's empire but gained one of her own, built on truth, heritage, and unbreakable spirit. The stars above the Latin Quarter shone faintly, but to Elena they burned bright, guiding her toward horizons she'd shape herself.